Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome back. Got a great show for you tonight. We're going to talk a lot about some drama going on between Trump and Jerome Powell. Nothing, out of the ordinary. We already knew this kind of stuff was going on in the background, but it's kind of intensified in the last couple of days. So we will be discussing that. And we also got to discuss some stuff about the One Big Beautiful Bill. Passed, by the way, spoiler alert. We'll talk more about that. And also, of course, with that One Big Beautiful Bill comes Elon Musk autism once again, over like just raging at this and, threatening to start a new party to kind of counter what this is for. We'll talk more in details about that. We got a lot of ETF news, things that have been kind of moving the markets, which we will be discussing as well. I don't know about these percentages. Do these seem right? Whatever. We'll go into detail of each coin as well to analyze them. And if you want to start fresh, we'll do that right now. And it's not because I'm being nice. It's because the exchange is not being nice to me, and it deleted everything that we ever had drawn ever on our charts, which is unfortunate. I had a lot of liquidation levels drawn here manually. It took me a lot of work to do, but it's whatever. First things first, where are we with Bitcoin in the weekly chart? So you'll know that 2024 is when we had our initial rise back to glory over here. And ever since Trump's victory, we've been kind of up and down here. Threats of wars that could have been happening, but we've quickly recovered from that. We actually have not even dropped that hard, which is a good thing, right? From here, it just means the strength of Bitcoin, the belief that people have in this system. Not a lot of people are selling it off. More people are buying. We're seeing institutions buy more, countries, companies, everybody's buying. And that's a good thing if you're already in it. The weekly chart, I use the super trend 10-3 to kind of make it a little tighter. It helps me determine whether or not we are still in a bull cycle or not, and where that would get invalidated once price crosses whatever the super trend level is at. As of right now, you're looking at a super trend of 83,000 in the positive and the green. As long as Bitcoin remains above 83,000, like we could have a dip to 83,000, we're still in a bull run. We drop below 83,000, bull run is canceled, sell everything, prepare for crypto winter. That's the kind of indicator I'm using in order to determine that. Why? Because historically, it's kind of worked in the past, although not as perfectly, but it still managed to, get you out in time. If you were able to sell December 2021, you would have avoided this whole bear market drop from all of 22 and all of beginning of 23, right? So the whole year of 2022, you would have avoided constant losses until you see this flip over to the green side. That's when you know a new uptrend is beginning. And that's kind of the thing that we've been keeping track of as of late. I will draw actually an extended line, and I'll make it white because I don't like blue. All right, that's not what I wanted. White, and I'll thin it out a little bit. This is kind of the uptrend that is defining this bull cycle, right? It's in line. Usually my uptrends are in line with the super trend lines that I use, so that's why I like it. I'm using these 2 points, you'll notice, which are very important levels. 7th of April, you'll know that this was Liberation Day. 5th of August, you'll know that this was a massive fear of a potential recession that we were having last year, to the point that where they had to emergency cut rates, which still didn't really save the markets, right? And also these constant drops were due to Middle Eastern conflicts mainly. That's all we experienced throughout the year of 2024. I've been streaming through all of that ever since June, I think I started, so like right over here. Yeah, I've survived all of these drops. I've enjoyed all of these rides. Admittedly, I didn't take full advantage of them to the fullest, right? But it's whatever, it's fine, we still got some room. Bitcoin is currently, in the weekly chart, not overbought yet. That's another thing you got to pay attention to is the RSI levels. If you see this indicator right over here rise above 70, you'll know that a potential reversal is imminent. You see that over here, price starts dropping right over here. We're in the center around this time, 2024, and then we start rising right over here after Trump victory. Admittedly, it was overbought. Everybody was buying too fast, too much. So a drawdown was necessary from there, and that's kind of what we got. Look at this as well. April 7, we stopped right there where that super trend line is, which further reinforces the fact that yes, this is indeed an uptrend. And since then we have recovered. Where have we recovered to? Current price of Bitcoin is 107,300. From here, we are not considered overbought, meaning that Bitcoin can still make another big move. I don't know if the likes specifically like that, but you know, a move upwards is imminent. Very soon it's going to happen. A lot of people are speculating this as well. I'm not the only one. So from here, what I like to draw is a fib extension to kind of figure out where we can go. I will take the lowest point that we saw August 5, highest point that we saw our first time we hit a all-time high at about 110,000. And then the third point is going to be the low of April 7, Liberation Day. And from there, it'll let us know where we can see some resistances, which you can see the first one already worked out perfect at 112,000, which is our actual all-time high. The highest point that we reached, we slowed down at that level. You don't have to worry about these as supports, really. For that, you would use different indicators such as pivot levels. Pay attention to liquidation prices, psychological levels, 100,000s, rounded up numbers, etc. And also paying attention to RSI fluctuations and also super trends in the smaller time frames. I usually stick to 4-hour time frame. I feel like it works best for me. From here, back to this, our next leg up is likely going to be 122,000. I was putting my bets on Bitcoin reaching 135,000 because you'll notice from here, there's not much else. You do have like this extra extension if like a worst case scenario, what is the highest point? You can see it says 173,000 or else 234,000, which ironically, well, unironically, a lot of analysts have put their price predictions for this Bitcoin stop cycle in this area as well, between 180,000 to 220,000. Ask AI, ask a lot of analysts, people who write articles. They will all say roughly around the same thing. Big institutions, their CEOs, their heads, their boards of directors, whatever you want to call them, they all have their targets around this area usually. Which, hey, if that is the case, this would be a super cycle because it'll be something unlike we have seen before, right? Usually what we have seen before, and there's more history behind this, you just can't see it because of this specific broker, but you'll notice that there is a double top pattern usually during your bull market. That's kind of what people are saying we're seeing right now, right? So it's a bit 50-50 as to whether we'll do that or whether we'll do that. Because people are seeing this double top and they're expecting us to, you know, bear market until the next 4 years. Then we can start rising to whatever those levels are. I don't think that's going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen, really, because first of all, we did not yet have our alt season. If it will happen, I mean, Bitcoin would probably have to drop and altcoins would have to surge. But, I mean, we've seen how weak currently the altcoins are versus how strong Bitcoin is. You can also look at Bitcoin dominance chart to see that most of the money is still in Bitcoin, about 66% of it. So two-thirds of the money in crypto is in Bitcoin. Usually the script would be flipped around, 2/3 would be in altcoins. That's what we would consider us being in an alt season, right? So just stuff like that is what you got to pay attention to. This, I will lock it in place. I will reduce our time frame back to a 4-hour chart. Here is where I have things like, you know, pivot levels helping me out, and also in terms of supports, resistances, uptrend invalidations. You can look at the super trend as well for that, or pivots, like I said. Right now, we see this downtrend. The previous one had already been broken, right? And this seems to be where we are currently experiencing some slowdown, is what it seems like. But fear not, we do have an uptrend. Although not specifically from here. You could draw one from our low point down there up to here. That could be a possibility. That's likely the one that we'll be following in the long term. Longer term, of course, we have the one at the bottom there. And here specifically, we do have this super trend in the green as well, which should further indicate us moving toward the upside. Now, I mentioned something along the lines of we do have a lot of liquidation zones over here, which that got deleted. I could probably just try to pull it up again. Liquidation heat map. It's so unfortunate that everything got deleted. Bitcoin. Is this going to load or what? Give me 2 weeks time as well. And I only have Binance. All right, fair enough. Binance is fair enough. Yeah, you're looking at about 108,000. Can I go a little further? Maybe a month. I want to see where the actual liquidation levels are. So you can see about 109,700. We're getting a couple million, hundreds of millions of dollars liquidated there. And also this all-time high. We're looking for shorts to be liquidated. Once shorts do get liquidated, they have to buy by force to close their positions because they cannot, you know, make any more profit at that point. They have to close it. They can't even take any more losses, right? Unless they add more margin to their positions. But you can see over here, a lot of liquidations are set, usually above 109,700, you could say. There's still a couple over here, don't get me wrong, mainly 108,800. You could basically tell from the resistance levels over here. So right above this area is where a lot of liquidations are set. That's a bit too large. Something like this is what we're seeing, which should be simple, right? You break this downtrend, you will see a massive spike upward in the price of Bitcoin. And that's where we see these big price spikes upwards, is because of short squeezes, what we call those events. So that's something we're currently, you know, to be expected, hopefully very soon. In terms of supports, where can Bitcoin drop to and have difficulty continuing to drop would be around 105,000, 104,900, right? Or 105,460. Super trend is 105,230, so it's literally right in the middle there. You could basically call this zone. It's never going to be exact, so you're going to have to estimate. 105,000 seems to be our floor for this week. Because you'll notice the length of a pivot level, at least in the 4-hour chart, which is the one that I'm using traditional pivot levels, you'll see that it is 7 days. I was wondering where everything went. And I also use Supertrend 5.5, by the way, just to kind of make things a little bit less reactionary and more in line with the trend lines that I usually draw, right? Wow, okay, there we go. 13-minute history on Bitcoin. Hope you enjoyed that. Let's move on to other tokens. Ethereum doing nothing at all. Similar deal. Well, okay, it seems like everything's saved over here from my previous drawings. So you'll notice over here I have this drawn for liquidation levels on Ethereum. We do break out of 2,600, should easily take us to 2,700. Like we'll immediately see that will just get skipped, right? To do so, of course, we do have to break out of this resistance, which we're having some trouble breaking out of at the current moment. Pivot level support is 2,355, and resistance invalidates at 2,535, but the true resistance is 2,600 that we have to break. So, you know, if this does flip bullish, the super trend, right, that would be good for us because, you know, it'll give us a bit of an indicator that we are on the rise until we eventually inevitably break out of this. The short liquidations will help us break out of this. Is this the final boss downtrend? It is. It is indeed the final boss downtrend because we have the point from our all-time high. I think this is our all-time high. We might have hit the same exact level before in 2021. But according to our, well, that high to June 11th high, yeah, That's the only downtrends that are blocking us, which is just another indicator that alt season is just coming very, very soon. I can feel it. I'm seeing this for now. I bought some more positions on some altcoins. Not a lot, just a little bit, just in case, right? You always have to be prepared for the downside. You will never always be right. So you got to prepare for the downside as well. So that kept in mind. I still entered some positions. Some of them are in a little bit of profit. And I still have a lot of old altcoin positions from, price was higher at a worse time. Surely price will go even higher at a better time, which better days are indeed coming. And I will prove that to you with the ETF announcements that we got. So that's also just bullish stuff in general. Should be as simple as that, break out of this. No more downtrends to block us for Ethereum other than resistances from Fibonacci levels. You're looking at 2,750, 3,000, 3,500, and then all-time high as your major resistance levels, right? But it's looking really good, really solid for Ethereum. Ethereum will lead the way first, and then you will see the rest of the altcoins follow through with it. Solana, very close competitor to Ethereum and also doing really good. We had it right over here. And this is exactly what I've been talking about, right? The short squeezes are real. I had this level drawn over here for short squeezes. I was hoping that this would be kept, so it did stay here. I'm happy about that. Just an immediate God candle of 5%. Boom, right up there. And this came, of course, with a fundamental behind it, which we'll be discussing later on in this video. It reached our resistance of 159.92, so 160, which is where pivot resistance level was, which is why I love pivots so much. It just tells you exactly, not exactly, but roughly where levels are, you'd see a slowdown, but if that is a resistance or a support towards the downside, they're usually pretty good at identifying that. As long as we do stay up here, I'm pretty sure we should see this converge a little bit higher, the super trend level, towards this pivot level where it is 143, but as of now it's looking at 140. Still a solid support. I was hoping to buy Solana at 140 back over here a little bit earlier last week, but it took off a little bit too fast. We had rumors that an ETF was going to be approved, and now it is approved. So there you go. That's the news for Solana and the reason for the price rise today. It says it's up 2%. I think that is a lie. I mean, it was a lot higher. From here to here, we reached a high of about 6% rise today, 5-6%. It's just come down in the past hours from a bit of profit taking, I suppose, but we are ready to go much higher with Solana. Downtrends, is this the final boss downtrend as well? Not really, or maybe it is, because it's from our all-time high. Let me see. Actually, I do need this one, and I need to be precise with it. All right. Yeah, that is indeed the final boss of the downtrends. And I'll keep this for our resistance levels. Yep, that's why it was such a significant event over here. So we broke out of this one, we broke out of this downtrend as well. There's nothing else holding Solana back unless this becomes, a continuation of the downtrend, which I really doubt. The fact that we currently have a green super trend means things can absolutely still continue to go higher. You do see there are some false positives right over here before, but that was because we were under this specific downtrend, longer term. So we were expecting still to go a little lower until we found our footing, until we found a bottom, which seemed to have been 22nd of June, World War III, fear Middle East, Israel-Iran conflict. Solana dropped to a low of 125.91. From there, we don't see any more lows. We did see a similar drop on April 7, much significant though, much more significant. At 95 was its lowest point, which was its lowest point ever since 2024. Even 2024, back when Bitcoin was still like at it reached 48,000 at its worst moment on August 5th, this worst day over here. We saw Solana at 109, right? So even here it was not even that bad, but I guess this April 7th, really, the Liberation Day, was the nail in the coffin, to say the least. But you know, we've recovered from there. We even hit a high of like 187. Like we've just been that well on our way back up for recovery with Solana. And seems like that is about to happen again. It's about to start once again over here. So yeah, I wish I honestly loaded up on a bit more. I could have. I just didn't. It's too slow. I got outplayed. Look at this liquidation event as well. Short squeezes. I was telling you guys, I had these zones marked for a reason. Short squeeze on XRP pumped the price up from today, from 215, 216 to about 233. So it happened already. Short squeeze gone. Super trend flipped bullish as predicted. Vindicated once again. Current price is 224 for XRP. It is up 2.29%, but it reached a total increase of 7.51% today. Pretty good stuff. Sui also similar deal, although not fully gone up, but still nonetheless, this short liquidation caused super trend to flip in the green with our support at 257, 258. The current price of Sui being at 278. We reached a high of 292 today. That is really good. We're on our way to on our way to $3. $3 is of course a psychological resistance. So I will also have this drawn. For whatever reason it's not noted. But there you go. That is our next target, and seems like we further got, you know, pushed down a little bit by this downtrend, so that's still a thing. We did not fully close above that and continue higher. We bounced off of it a little bit lower, so we might still need a bit of, you know, a bit more build up, a bit more strength, a bit more accumulating before it can actually break out of there entirely. That's why we didn't see a full breakout with that liquidation drawing that I did there. But we're gonna get there soon. It's gonna happen, no doubt. I do also want to have a look at Litecoin, down 1.29%. It says realistically no big change. $86.69. It's suffering with this resistance at 87. We didn't flip super trend bullish yet. And same thing with Cardano. We did not flip super trend bullish yet. But those are coming up very soon. 60 cents is the resistance for Cardano. Well, 59 approximately. Yeah, you could say 60 cents. And we are on our way up there. I already did make some purchase on Cardano as well. I have one at 58. I have one at 56. And I have one over here at 52. So I'm well loaded up. And don't get me wrong, I do also have other positions a little bit higher, around 70 something. I think 72 and 78 or something like that. Yeah, I was buying up here, which is crazy, right? I even bought at 80, and I sold at 84. I sold at the top there. It was a perfect snipe. From there, we've been in a downtrend. But right now, and I've pointed this out many times before, don't even go to a weekly chart. You just got to go to a daily chart. You'll see this 1, 2, triple support at 51 cents. Very, very important support level that it has not been able to break. And, you know, this might be the defining moment for it. If we do once again drop to here, I'm not sure if we can hold that support for much longer. Would require a 10% drop, however. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're instead going to break out upwards and continue much higher because we do have a lot of room to recover. And we have seen Cardano recover from these kinds of drops before. It's absolutely possible. 33% drop. That is crazy. That was Liberation Day, April 7. I think so, at least. And that is all we have for the coins, honestly. So there you go. That's what we've got going on. You'll notice that the liquidation event for Bitcoin, short liquidations, has not yet happened. And when that does, Bitcoin will rise and it will be so close to all-time highs that the altcoins will also follow that because of the optimism, the FOMO that it's going to create, fear of missing out. So overall, very bullish is what I am. Did I not also mention, I streamed on Saturday, didn't I? When was this rise? 29th of June. That was yesterday at 8 a.m., 12, yeah. And then this was 8 p.m. Yeah, so just as I predicted, honestly, we were very, very flat over here, right? And I said, you know what, Sunday evening will be at a very high point. We indeed were. We reached a high of 108,000 for Bitcoin. Since then, though, we have dropped a little bit back down to 107,400, where we currently are. I don't know specifically why. It just seems like we're waiting, honestly. We're waiting to see what is Donald Trump going to do with Jerome Powell. What is Jerome Powell going to do with the rate cuts? What is Elon Musk doing with this one big beautiful bill? Is he going to make a new party? Is he going to, fund different oppositions? Whatever the case may be. We're going to talk about all that right now. So get ready. Be prepared. Trying to think before we do. No, really, there's nothing much else to say about it. So we'll go ahead and do it. Oh yeah, another thing as well that happened is that digital tax that Canada has been charging the United States, it has been revoked, rescinded. They rescinded the digital services tax in a bid to advance trade talks with the United States because Trump said, hey, that 3% tax you're charging on all our big companies, no, we're going to stop trade talks with you immediately. And then Carney, of course, bends the knee once again to Trump. The guy that was voted to stand up against Trump is now saying, you know what, fine, we'll remove that digital services tax. Please resume talks with us. And so I'm guessing they will. Now, the whole interest rate situation of the United States, the Federal Reserve, etc. Trump is saying the interest rates should be as low as 1%. And we have a stupid person at the Fed that does not want to cut rates. For context's sake, the current interest rate is 425 to 450. I think we usually take the higher number, so it's really like 450. I think that's what we do. I'm not sure. But from there, to drop, and if you don't understand, like this is basically 4.50%, 4.25%, whatever the case is. To drop this down to 1%, you're going to need a lot of basis point rate cuts. 3.50% rate cut. That is very significant. I think it's obviously an exaggeration, but Trump really is pressuring Jerome Powell to cut those rates, which every time we've seen Jerome Powell say, you know what, we're going to be patient. Inflation might rise because of tariffs, and we're just going to wait and see. We're going to wait. And Trump is tired of waiting. He calls them too late. He drew this out, wrote a letter to Jerome Powell. It's signed by Donald Trump and everything. And this handwritten note to Jerome Powell calling him too late, showing him how the US rates should be here around 1.75 to 0.25%. He really wants those rates much lower, right? Trump says that we should be paying 1% interest or better. Will that be coming? We don't really know. He has all of this highlighted in terms of like rankings of countries with federal reserves and their percentages. Where's Canada? I wanted to find. It doesn't even have Canada. That's just racist. But we're, I think, around the 3-point-something percent, 3.50 maybe. Nonetheless, United States is here at 35 at 4.50% interest rate. So I was right. We do read this number over here, 450. It's 4.50% interest rate. And he wants that cut down all the way here, which usually the Fed will not do that all in once. The worst case thing that we've seen the Fed do is cut 50 basis point rate cut. So they'd cut like 0.50%. So before, if this was like 5%, a 50 basis point rate cut would drop this to 4.50%, right? So that's the kind of thing that we see. In this note, Trump writes, Jerome, you are as usual too late. You have cost the USA a fortune and continue to do so. You should lower the rate by a lot. Hundreds of billions of dollars being lost. No inflation. No inflation. There is no inflation. That's what Trump's main argument is. Like, look, I've already implemented these tariffs. There's virtually no inflation. It's at such a low rate. You gotta cut at least something, right? But Powell's like, oh, okay, but what is the point of cutting interest rates if maybe in the future tariffs can generate higher inflation? So we're just not going to cut. We might even have to hike rates at that point if we do cut a little bit too early. And a rate hike is not what the market likes to see either, right? We like to see the rates getting cut because it weakens the US dollar and everything that is against the US dollar. So Bitcoin, any other asset, any stock, gold, commodities, things like that will go up from in that sense. And cutting interest rates to 1%, we're going to see stocks and crypto rally like never before, if that would be the case. But it seems like Jerome Powell is standing in the way. Have we ever seen the United States at a 1% interest rate? I could probably check that. I am a bit curious since we were on the subject. Let me go to countries, United States, interest rates, and max all-time interest rates. Really, we had 0.25, 20% interest rate. That's crazy. Yeah, this is legit. So the current rate is 4.50%. We have seen them at 0.25% back in 2020. Why? 2019, April, there was rate hikes. COVID happened November, January, February, March. That does make sense. March 2020 was when lockdowns really hit. They really had to get money flowing, so they reduced interest rates by a lot to kind of, turn on the money printer to save the economy. Otherwise, it was going to die, right? So that dropped rates to 0.25%. And by that time, we realized how much inflation had impacted the economy by 2022. And this, of course, was when crypto rallied. We saw all-time highs in 2021. It all ended in 2022. That's when rates started increasing again. And also we had like a lot of bad fundamentals at that time. FTX crash, Luna crash, a lot of exchanges, distrust and all that stuff. NFTs died, things like that. So crypto market just died in general for all of 2022 and 2023. From there, this is just another indicator as to why we're going to have an alt season, by the way. Interest rates were hiked each time, strengthening the US dollar against every other asset, meaning that everything would have to go down in price. Bitcoin dropped, gold dropped, every other asset. They were not doing that well. They just started recovering little by little. We were seeing some stocks at all-time high levels, etc. We, of course, see the effect of all of that inflation stuff with prices going up. But now inflation is on the drop again. So that's why we started seeing some rates get cut. We saw a 50 basis point rate cut over here in July. That was the one I was pointing out. We went from 5.5% to 5% in September. September was when that rate cut took effect, right? Rates were kept there. August 31, yeah, September. And then we kept getting a little bit more rate cuts until now when Donald Trump took office, January 20. We are at where we still are right now, 4.5%. And Trump, he's gone through a couple of, Fed meetings, and there has been no change to that 4.5%. He's saying there is no inflation. Tariffs are not bringing inflation. You must cut these interest rates back down here. He's saying at least 1% interest rate. And man, if that happens, if Bitcoin's already at all-time highs right here, we're going to go much higher, right? So that is also what the markets are optimistic about, futures market at least. We're pricing this in. We're saying, you know what? This can go so much higher if those rate cuts do take place like Donald Trump really wants, right? Also, another thing, M2 money supply. We're seeing that on the rise as well. Bitcoin usually lags this. This is only for USA though. I want to see global. I don't know if I'll be able to see that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You get the point, right? United States is up here. He really wants the United States to be, much lower in terms of interest rates. And he's comparing to the rest of these countries who probably have higher inflation. Japan is one of the ones that are the safest. And, it actually caused a bit of fear and a bit of a collapse when Japan started hiking their rates from 0%, they had 0%, by the way, to 0.50%, because it affected like carry trading and stuff like that. That has to do with Forex. It's not that important with this, but yeah. Even Caroline Leavitt pointed this out, that exact same document in the White House. Literally just, further reinforcing that point on behalf of Trump. So we have a president who is actively calling for interest rates to be cut to as low as 1%. He is effectively stating that he will be replacing Fed Chair Jerome Powell with someone who will immediately cut rates. There is talks of that. Hey, if Powell doesn't cut rates, his term ends in May 2026. You can expect a 1% rate cut by that. Not a 1% rate cut, but rates to be cut to 1% by then. If it's just a 1% rate cut, we'd be at 3.50, which is brutally high still. Anyways, meanwhile, currently, by the way, stocks are at all-time highs. Real estate prices are at all-time highs. The US debt is at all-time highs. And so is crypto, kind of. At least Bitcoin. Not really the rest of crypto. A lot of altcoins are still very far down, but you kind of get the point. We have hit all-time highs for some, if not most of them, right? If the new Fed chair actually cuts rates to 1%, we're going to witness perhaps one of the biggest runs of all times in stocks and real estate. There's never been a time in history where the Fed cut rates to 1% with the stock market and home prices at all-time highs. That is another, just a little thing to think about, right? It would be an inflationary move. However, the near-term effects on asset prices would be massive, and that's all we really need. We just need, this magic internet money to go up, and this is what's going to cause that. The money printer is what most people are optimistic about. As much as we hate inflation, and Bitcoin is a hedge against inflation, that's why Bitcoin benefits from that. Just imagine a situation where you reintroduce 3% mortgages in this market. Yeah, stuff like that, like buying homes, locking those in, a 20-year term at a low rate. That's pretty good. Pretty darn good. Treasury of the United States Secretary Scott Bessent says that they will begin working on Fed Chair Powell's successor in the coming weeks and months. They really want this guy out if he will not cut the rates. So there's a lot of pressure on him to do so. And even so, we are not expecting this guy to cut rates in the upcoming meeting. There is a 79% chance we keep rates where they are at, which is something that Trump hates to see. He wants to see these rate cuts now. We do expect at least 3 rate cuts, one in September, and one in October, one in December for this year. 3 rate cuts, but it's still going to be a little too far. We'd be at 3.75% when we have someone like Trump wanting this to be at 1%. I think that's exaggerated, like I said, but the real provisions, what we're seeing is at least the rate cuts down to 3.25% by 2026. That's at least what we're expecting here. There's some percent chances of us cutting, but the chances are not high as of right now. These percentages always change with each economic data that we get, whether that be PC, inflation, CPI, PPI, GDP, non-farm payrolls, unemployment rates, etc. All that stuff will impact these percentages. And also, of course, the FOMC meetings and their projections to keep in line with what the markets are expecting. Those percentages also are based off of that. Even the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says that he himself, I'm pretty sure that's what this means, he's ready to replace Fed Chair Jerome Powell if President Trump wants him to. Now, I don't know if that's specifically saying Scott Bessent will replace Jerome Powell, or Scott Bessent is ready to have Jerome Powell replaced by someone, if not himself. But according even to this question, will Scott Bessent be crypto-friendly if he does replace Jerome Powell? Grok agrees with that. Is likely to be more crypto-friendly than Jerome Powell if he does become Fed chair. Because we've seen it so far with Scott Bessent. His public statements support U.S. leadership in crypto. He opposes central bank digital currencies, and he has personally invested in Bitcoin himself, right? He sees stablecoins as boosting demand for U.S. treasuries, potentially lowering national debt. However, as Fed chair, his focus on financial stability might lead to a balanced approach, emphasizing regulation over promotion. Unlike Powell's cautious stance, Bessent's track record suggests openness to crypto, but the Fed's role could moderate his policies. So, I mean, ultimately, it would still be good. So, hey, maybe if that does happen, good. Now it gets even a little bit deeper than that. Fed Reserve Chair Jerome Powell has been accused of lying to Congress, denying lavish $2.5 billion HQ renovations, including private elevators, marble, and rooftop gardens. Just a bit of drama there. But hey, what? Lying to Congress? What do you mean? So we'll see what happens with Jerome Powell, just to kind of put this chapter to a close. He will be speaking tomorrow, Tuesday, July 1st at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time for a policy panel discussion. I'll definitely be checking that out. Hey, maybe all this pressure really gets to him. I've mentioned this before. Trump keeps on pressuring this guy, and I don't know. He seems to, play it off and stay cool with it. But I don't know. Maybe it's slowly getting to him. Maybe he's starting to realize, like, hey, you know what, guys? Yeah, I think it's time for a rate cut. Man, that percentage chart that I showed you guys, it's just going to go all over the place. We'll see what happens. Most likely, and historically speaking, Fed Chair Powell is very dovish when it comes to that. When it comes to his meetings, he's very cautious in what he says, because anything that he really speaks, it moves the market. It does. Like, it's something crazy. You gotta see. Anyways, moving on. Texas Governor Abbott signs a law making gold and silver legal tender in day-to-day financial transactions, and we've seen, Bitcoin is next for this. Why? Because I have U.S. Bitcoin Strategic Reserve Map. Texas is one of them, and it's already approved, right? Pro-crypto state. Should be coming soon to crypto, to Bitcoin. The Senate passes their procedural vote on Trump's $3.8 trillion big, beautiful bill. It's happened. It's official. It's live. I shared this last time I streamed. It was kind of in the middle, like 50-50 almost, and we had JD Vance come in to try to tie break this, and it happened. He broke the tie. 51-49 vote. Very, very close. But yeah, it's official. It has passed the Senate. And of course, here is Elon Musk's crash out on all of this. What is he, a representative? The senator of Oklahoma, okay. Mark Wayne Mullen says, there are two different CBO scores for President Trump's bill. The Democrats are playing games, and hopefully this helps. The Dems asked CBO to score based on the tax cuts expiring at the end of this year, which is what will happen if the bill is not passed. They claim it explodes the deficit by $3.3 trillion. That is totally wrong. Why? It doesn't recognize that the one big beautiful bill stops a $4 trillion tax hike on Americans. We're making the Trump tax cuts permanent. By passing this bill and not allowing the Trump tax cuts to expire, this bill will reduce the deficit by over $507 billion. The Democrats are playing games with the numbers, which we call lying. So he's basically pointing out the Democrats are voting against this bill because they don't want you people to have tax cuts. And Elon Musk came in and said, if that is true, then why are we increasing the debt ceiling by $5 trillion? The only reason for a $5 trillion debt ceiling increase is to increase the national debt by $5 trillion. Obviously, end of story. And we should also keep in mind that this guy, Mark Wayne Mullen, if you care about insider trading at all, he bought a lot of European equities. We saw Eurozone ETF EZU being bought about up to $250,000. He sits on the Senate Armed Services Committee. Yeah. Anyway. And here's more about Elon Musk, saying that it's obvious with the insane spending of this bill, which increases the debt ceiling by a record $5 trillion, that we live in a one-party country. The Porky Pig Party is what he's calling it. And he's also calling for a new political party that actually cares about the people to emerge. He also mentioned that he will officially launch the America Party the next day if and when Trump spending bill passes. So he was being serious about this. And he also mentioned, I don't think I have it here. I don't. Something about, oh no, don't forget. I'm forgetting. Trump spoke about this against Elon Musk. I have it on my phone. Okay, well, it just got deleted. Thank you, Twitter. You know when you open Twitter and you have that post ready, and then it just refreshes your feed and it's all gone? Yeah, that just happened. So, Elon Musk has said that Republicans and Democrats just pretend to be two parties. It's just one uni-party in reality, right? Because they're both, not for the American people, I guess is what he's trying to say. Let me go to where's my notifications here? I had it come up over here. Yeah, here's the post. I have some myths versus facts of the big beautiful bill, and I'll pull it up right here. All right. So the Porky Pig thing that Elon Musk mentioned, he's basically alluding to the fact that it's just a tax break for billionaires. But the fact is that the One Big Beautiful Bill delivers the largest middle and working class tax cut in U.S. history. The president's legislation will put more than $10,000 a year back in the pockets of typical hardworking families. This is the most pro-growth, pro-worker, pro-family legislation we've ever crafted. Something we've heard before, by the way. The next myth is the One Big Beautiful Bill takes from the poor to give to the rich. The fact is that the low-income workers stand to receive the largest percentage reduction in their tax liability. The One Big Beautiful Bill delivers the largest tax cut in history for working and middle-class Americans. Another myth. It makes life more unaffordable. The fact is that it delivers bigger paychecks, expanding take-home pay by over $10,000 per year for a typical family. Next myth is it hurts low-income families. It says it's the most pro-family legislation. I have to speed through all of this. That is a lot. I actually don't think I'm going to read all that. But here's a lot of facts versus myths. Another one I've heard is something to do with Medicare or Medicaid healthcare. This one, people will literally die and millions will be kicked off their healthcare. What is the fact for this? It's one of the most egregious deranged attacks from the left, peddling fear over the facts. The One Big Beautiful Bill protects eligible Americans on federal welfare, including Medicaid. By strengthening the integrity of Medicaid by eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse, its resources can be refocused on providing better care for those whom the program was designed to serve: pregnant women, children, people with disabilities, low-income seniors, and other vulnerable low-income families. So, I guess that's their response to that. It will hurt people with disabilities. It's saying no, it'll protect and strengthen Americans with disabilities. Medicaid. They will receive no loss or change in coverage. Okay. All right. So I guess stuff like that. Big oil. Snap. What? The border as well, deploying 10,000 new ICE officers. I think that's good. Seems good, right? But main reason Elon Musk opposes this, of course, is that debt ceiling raise, and that's his view on it. You're raising the debt ceiling because you're just going to increase the country's deficit by that, which stands against everything that he worked for and did with Doge, which was to cut government spending. You're just going to increase it. You oppose that. That's why he now is enemies with Trump, I guess. They're now in good terms after their little fight, which did also cause some turbulence in the price of Bitcoin if you missed it. We originally saw Bitcoin drop over here 5th of June because of that fight. But they became buddies again. Not really. They're just, mutual acquaintances, I guess. Yeah, I acknowledge he exists. He exists. That's fine. Wow, I'm at 50 minutes in and I have not even talked about crypto or stocks. So let's do that. This is the big news for today, that Robinhood was preparing to launch tokenized share trading in the European Union, which would offer users access to blockchain-based versions of traditional stocks. Due to this, we have seen Robinhood's price reach, is it all-time high? Rumored all-time high, Hood. I think that is an all-time high. Yeah, it is indeed an all-time high ever since its IPO. Closing at 93.63. Current price is I mean, it hit a high of 94, sorry. Yeah, for today, which is pretty good. So Robinhood has been killing it. It's about time. It has been at a very low point. I remember this. I survived through all of that, actually. Not directly, but, you know, I've just witnessed this drop with Robinhood. I'm like, wow, this sucks. Until it started making its moves upward once again. What was this high? February 2025. The drop over here, of course, after a lot of tariff announcements. And then huge recovery. 215% if you manage to buy the dip on April 7, by the way. This is why you buy when there's blood on the streets, is what they say. Good for Robinhood. And I don't even know if this is real. Like, apparently it is real. You can now buy these private companies, because if you look at OpenAI or SpaceX, you can't buy those. But now you can. Because they're private companies. Right? Like, what is the ticker for this? Can I even find it on TradingView? OPAI. It's a token. Yeah, it doesn't exist. That is interesting. Okay, so you can invest in OpenAI. You can also invest in SpaceX. Companies that are not traded publicly on the stock exchanges. You can now do that with Robinhood with their new tokenized version of you know, their stock exchanges. That is really cool. The only issue is that it's only for Europe for whatever reason. Like, why Europe? They're the most anti-investor, it seems like, but yeah, whatever. Too much regulation there, and they have this first. Why not the United States? But hey, it's coming soon near you. If that is the case. Do we even have Robinhood in Canada? Is Robinhood available in Canada? Last time I checked, it wasn't. Like, I tried downloading in Play Store. Yeah, it's not available. All right, you suck. Of course. Anyways, it's not just there, but now Solana is also able to do this, which is why we had another win for Solana. Solana's just been win after win today. Deserved liquidation, short liquidation, short squeeze, right? We deserve this pump. We had the ETF announcement that could be possibly coming. We have this now, the fact that we can invest into stocks directly using Solana's blockchain, which just, you know, it's just more stuff that you can do with Solana's block. The Ethereum blockchain doesn't have this. I'm going to be comparing Solana to Ethereum a lot in the upcoming minutes, so pay attention. Get ready. Jupiter works with Solana. You can buy stocks now on it, and they're using X stock to kind of get this done. I don't know if all the stocks on here, I don't think there. It seems like these are just the major ones. This is and also ETFs as well. SPY is an ETF of the S&P 500, right? An index. Circle stock is there. Tesla, Nvidia, Apple, Meta. You can invest in all that stuff on Jupiter. You can also do the same thing on Radium. And the better fact about this is not that you could just trade stocks on a blockchain. You can do this 24/7 now. Stock market is still open on Solana. Even the US stock market's closing at new all-time highs even today. It's still open on Solana, on Radium. You can use Radium, decentralized exchanges like Jupiter as well, to trade stocks. That is just big, big indeed. And don't forget, Trump also tweeted this: "Let the gains begin." And you know you should take this stuff seriously. You've missed it in the past. Something big might be happening this week as well. It just further makes me think that an all season has to happen, right? Like, there's just too much bullish stuff, and we're seeing no reflection in the price because of it. I think we're still very early. Very, very early. And here's even a meme from Solana themselves. "One small swap for me, one giant leap for traders everywhere." Comparing the Charizard evolution right from Pokemon. My grandpa buying stocks over a telephone, baby level stuff. Evolution 1, my dad buying stocks online with 3-day settlement times. And then you have, you know, me buying stocks on chain with Solana. That is indeed just the future. Like, it's going to happen. There's also the partnership of X stocks with Chainlink as well. X stocks seems to be the one that's providing the tokenized equities, right? Pioneering tokenized equities. There's over 50 tokenized stocks, so it's not all of them. There's over 50 available on chain and on centralized exchanges issued by BackFi. Okay. We're excited to announce a partnership with Chainlink, which has joined X Stocks Alliance. X Stocks Alliance as the official Oracle infrastructure powering the pricing of all X Stocks' tokenized equities and ETFs. This will make tokenized stocks globally accessible through DeFi. The continued growth of X Stocks Alliance with Chainlink joining alongside BackFi. I don't know what this is. I guess another thing for tokenized stocks as well. I should be following this. Kraken, we've also seen, is also planning to do this stuff, and I've talked about it before. Bybit seems to be one of the next ones. Account suspended. Why? Why is Bybit suspended? Okay, I have to look that up later. Solana, I don't know what Camino Finance is. Radium, Jupiter, and Alchemy Pay signals a pivotal moment in the evolution of tokenized equities. Why is Bybit down? Why is Bybit suspended on Twitter? What do they do? Europe account is still open. This is Bybit. Oh, okay, it's Bybit official. I guess they put the tag wrong. Whoever the previous Bybit was probably a bot. That's funny. There you go. Also this. The first Solana ETF has just been approved, and the trading will begin on Wednesday. Altcoin season is here. So that's real, by the way. I fact-checked it. It's true. It aligns with the Reuters report from June 25, where Invesco filed for a Solana ETF, which signaled growing institutional interest in altcoins beyond Bitcoin. The price surged past $160 following the announcement, with nearly $9 million in short positions liquidated. That's what we saw with this bad candle over here. As noted, blah, blah, blah. Showing an 80 billion market cap currently for Solana. That is going to increase probably a little more. Solana has no fixed supply, right? I'm just curious. How big can Solana get? It's a number 6 already. Yeah, it has an infinite max supply. But it's still just genuinely such a good project that it's still going to outperform. Alright. At least it's doing better than other stuff that actually have fixed supplies, right? Here's another one. Rex Osprey Solana ETF. So it's not just Invesco, but there's other ones. An ETF for Solana with staking. Set to begin trading this Wednesday, says the CEO. There you go. Why do you need an Ethereum ETF when Solana will include staking in their ETFs? Okay. That is indeed really, really good. Really good. I can't wait. I mean, well, I can wait, right? We do. What did we get? We had a XRP ETF in Canada. I'm in Canada, so I can't trade none of this. I could trade a US ETF. I can. I just got to convert to American dollars, and the conversion rate is terrible. It's whatever. But yeah, big win nonetheless. In terms of Ethereum ETF, if you're wondering when's that staking going to come, well, the SEC just delayed it again. They delayed staking for a Bitwise spot Ethereum ETF. Who knows why they keep on delaying it? Do we even know? The SEC delayed it to ensure compliance with securities laws. We're getting a staking ETF with Solana. What about Ethereum? Whatever. Solana just better, I guess. Like the investment company, and to protect investor from risks such as slashing penalties and variable rewards. This is the thing that we really wanted with Ethereum ETFs, is that staking, because if it's in terms of growth, you have the Bitcoin ETFs already, and Bitcoin will always outperform Ethereum. So what is Ethereum good for? Maybe staking. Give us something in return, guaranteed return. So that's where the staking would have come in, but it's just not approved yet, and that's what a lot of people are waiting for. But now we just got this. We just got Solana ETF with staking approved, coming out Wednesday. It's just going to be much better. Some see it as overcaution. I agree, it's overcaution. Stifling innovation, especially since staking could enhance the ETF appeal with 2 to 7% yields. That is pretty good. The 7%, not the 2%. The SEC's ongoing review reflects a cautious approach amid calls for clearer crypto regulations. True. We also have Tom Lee. We've seen this guy, a Wall Street strategist, who's looking to build the Ethereum version of MicroStrategy. That means, of course, using Ethereum as your strategic reserve. I don't understand really why. I don't see the appeal. It makes sense for Bitcoin because Bitcoin will always go up in value whether you like it or not, because it has a fixed supply. It's the digital gold, 21 million Bitcoins, etc., right? Supply and demand. That's going to happen. So it makes sense to use Bitcoin as a strategic reserve. Even some companies are still against that, especially the bigger companies. They think it's still a little too risky. They're all too old. They're all boomers, so they don't understand, but it's fine. This is, I don't know if this will really work out, honestly. But we'll see. Hey, it's still good, I guess, for Ethereum. He's going to be buying a lot of it. We're seeing this kind of stuff happen with MicroStrategy, with Michael Saylor, right? He just posted this on Sunday, which you already know the next day would be an announcement that he had just purchased. He's saying that in 21 years, you will wish you would have bought more. Whenever he posts this chart, he usually announces the very next day that, MicroStrategy has purchased more Bitcoin. He bought $531 million at an average price of $106,000 per Bitcoin. That's about 5,000 Bitcoins. They currently hold 597,000 Bitcoins. Almost 600,000. They're getting there. That's crazy. Total money that they acquired with it, $42 billion at an average price of 70,982 average price per Bitcoin. It's crazy. This guy just keeps buying at the top. Good for Michael. Here's something interesting as well. The SEC acknowledges amendment to convert Grayscale Digital Large Cap Fund into an ETF, which would cover Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, and Cardano. Now, if you'll notice, these are the same cryptocurrencies that were once talked about by Donald Trump for that crypto strategic reserve. It seems like Grayscale is going to be launching an ETF covering all of those. Of course, we would need all of these. I don't know if we would specifically need those coins approved specifically. I don't think so, because we're seeing a Coinbase 50 ETF come out where 50 cryptocurrencies will be in there. And you don't need a spot ETF for each one of those, right? Just approve the company that's doing it. So, yeah, maybe we don't have to wait for XRP ETF and Cardano ETF as well, because we already have Bitcoin, Ethereum, and currently we're going to get a Solana ETF soon. Yeah, XRP ETF, Cardano ETF. Those will be coming eventually, but it's not necessary to have them right now for this to exist in general, right? The Grayscale Digital Large Cap Fund into an ETF. So yeah, that's that. Countries. Kazakhstan will launch a state crypto reserve, according to National Bank Chairman Timur Suleymanov. Management will reportedly fall under a bank-affiliated entity with funding sourced from confiscated crypto assets and government-backed mining operations. That's good. Yep. Countries keep on buying. Companies also keep on buying, by the way. Coinbase privacy. Get ready. If you have been, quote-unquote, forgetting to report your crypto gains, the IRS just got court-approved access to Coinbase user data. Which means that if you're not paying your taxes and you use Coinbase, the government can see that, IRS can see that, and they'd be like, hey, you're not paying your taxes, and they'll come after you. So pay your taxes on crypto Bitcoin, especially if you use Coinbase. The actual headline is this, that the Supreme Court rejected Coinbase's request to block the IRS from accessing user data. So the IRS can access user data, and they can see your capital gains if you're paying your taxes or not. So just watch out for that. And that is all for today. I have overstayed my welcome. Bitcoin still chilling at 107,000. This must happen soon. Hopefully this week. We do have some fundamentals that could help us get there. Fed Chair Powell speaking tomorrow. ISM manufacturing. I don't think this is going to bring too much impact. Wednesday, nothing. Thursday, we're getting non-farm payrolls. Friday is a holiday, July the 4th, Independence Day. Yeah. Will I be streaming tomorrow? Probably not. It's going to be Canada Day, July 1st. And there's usually fireworks, so I'll probably go see that. I'll probably get some good drone footage. I was wondering, maybe I should start uploading drone footage as well to my YouTube channel. Oh, by the way, I will be uploading a new book soon. Like literally minutes after finishing this. So I'm going to do that, and that'll be that. And you'll enjoy it. All right. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you whenever I